She was a sister everyone adored, loyal, gentle, the kind of person you'd trust with your life. But behind her smile was a secret she'd been hiding for years. And when the truth finally surfaced, it tore a family apart. This is a story of how love turned to jealousy and how one sister's betrayal ended in blood. Hit like and the subscribe button as we take a deep dive into this crime scene. In the quiet suburbs of Cedar Falls, Iowa, the Morgan family was well known, not for wealth or fame, but for love. Two sisters, Rachel and Hannah Morgan, were inseparable. Rachel, the eldest, ambitious, hardworking, the first in the family to graduate college. Hannah, the free spirit, creative and kind, always in her sister's shadow, but never bitter, or so it seemed. Neighbors often saw them walking together, laughing in the driveway, sharing coffee on Sunday mornings. To everyone who knew them, they were more than sisters. They were best friends. But behind those smiles, old wounds never truly healed. When their parents passed away suddenly in a car crash, the sisters inherited everything together. The family home, the savings and the pressure to keep the family name strong. At first, everything seemed fine. Rachel, the responsible one, took charge of the finances. Hannah supported her, or at least pretended to. But money has a way of testing blood. Soon, Rachel began noticing missing withdrawals, strange purchases. When she confronted Hannah, her sister brushed it off, claimed she was helping pay the bills. Rachel wanted to believe her, she always did. But trust, once cracked, never fully mends. On a rainy Thursday night, Rachel's co-worker reported her missing. She hadn't shown up for work in 2 days. Her phone, off. Her car, still in the driveway. But inside her home, things were not as they seemed. Police found signs of struggle in the kitchen. A shattered mug, droplets of blood, and Rachel's cell phone lying beside a half-written email. The last thing she typed were the words, "I think Hannah's been lying to me." Detectives brought Hannah in for questioning. She seemed distraught, crying, trembling, claiming she had no idea what happened. She told police she'd last seen her sister the night before, arguing about money, but insisted Rachel had stormed out. It sounded believable until the neighbors spoke up. One neighbor reported hearing loud voices at night, a woman screaming, a door slamming. Another said they saw Hannah's car leaving the driveway at midnight and returning just before dawn. When detectives checked the car, they found dirt on the tires, red clay, the kind not found anywhere near Cedar Falls, and in the trunk, a single strand of Rachel's hair. But without a body and with no clear evidence of foul play, police couldn't make an arrest. The case stalled, and Hannah walked free. 2 weeks later, a local hiker stumbled upon a shallow grave near the edge of Pinewood Creek, 30 miles from a Morgan home. Inside, the body of Rachel Morgan. She'd been struck once in the head, blunt force trauma, and buried hastily, wrapped in a blanket from the family home. Detectives searched the house again. This time, they noticed something they missed before, a faint blood stain on the underside of the kitchen rug, and a small broken key in the trash. When they matched that key to a storage unit under Hannah's name, what they found inside changed everything. In that unit were Rachel's missing belongings, her laptop, and a handwritten journal. The final entry dated the day she disappeared. "If anything happens to me, it's Hannah." Hannah was arrested on suspicion of murder. The once beloved sister now sat in handcuffs, accused of the ultimate betrayal. As detectives pressed her, the truth began to unravel. Jealousy, resentment, and greed had festered for years. Rachel had planned to cut her off financially, and Hannah couldn't bear the thought of losing everything. In the interrogation room, Hannah broke down, but she didn't confess. Instead, she whispered something chilling. You'll never find out why. Even with overwhelming evidence, Hannah pled not guilty. Her lawyer claimed it was an accident, a fight that went too far, but prosecutors believed otherwise. In the courtroom, the Morgan family sat divided, grieving one daughter and watching the other fight for her freedom. The trial would uncover secrets no one saw coming and expose a second betrayal, hidden in plain sight. But as the prosecution prepared to deliver their final blow, A letter surfaced, written by Rachel, mailed the day before she died. And what it revealed would change the entire case. The courtroom was silent when the envelope was placed on the judge's bench. A letter written by Rachel Morgan. Inside were the words that would change everything. If you're reading this, something's happened to me. I've been digging into our finances, and I found something I can't ignore. I think Hannah has been hiding money. And worse, I think someone else is involved. She mentioned a name, but the rest of the sentence was smudged, blurred by tears, or maybe something else. The letter was incomplete. But one thing was clear. Rachel believed her death wouldn't be an accident. With the new evidence, detectives reopened the case. If Rachel's letter was right, Hannah might not have acted alone. But who was the second person Rachel feared? And what were they hiding? As prosecutors prepared for trial, they dug deeper into Hannah's financial records. What they uncovered sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Over $90,000 transferred from Rachel's joint account into an offshore fund under another name. That name belonged to David Keller, Hannah's ex-boyfriend, a man with a criminal record and a history of violence. When detectives brought David in for questioning, he denied knowing anything about Rachel's death. But when pressed about the money, he grew nervous. He claimed Hannah asked him to hold it for her, said it was her share of the inheritance. Investigators weren't convinced. They searched David's apartment and found a pair of muddy boots with the same red clay found on Hannah's tires. Forensic tests confirmed it. David had been to the burial site. The theory shifted. Was Hannah the mastermind, or was she covering for someone even more dangerous? For the Morgan family, the truth was a double-edged sword. They'd lost one daughter, and now watched the other being pulled deeper into a web of lies. Hannah's defense claimed she was manipulated by David, that he convinced her to confront Rachel, and the fight turned deadly. But prosecutors painted a darker picture, a calculated plot to silence Rachel before she exposed the fraud. And then a new piece of evidence surfaced, a voicemail left by Rachel just hours before she disappeared. "Hannah, I know what you've done. We need to talk tonight. No more lies. I'm going to the police in the morning." Rachel's final message made one thing clear. She was ready to expose her sister. And that decision cost her life. Facing mounting evidence, Hannah finally agreed to a plea deal. She admitted to being present the night Rachel died, but insisted the killing wasn't planned. According to her, the argument spiraled out of control, and David was the one who struck the fatal blow. Detectives now had two suspects, two conflicting stories, and one buried truth, but then a shocking twist. When police re-examined Rachel's journal, they found a hidden page tucked into the binding, a note Hannah never knew existed. "He's watching me." I think Hannah's scared too. If anything happens, look at David. It was the first time Rachel hinted that she wasn't alone in her fear. Maybe Hannah wasn't a monster after all. Maybe she was a victim too. In a stunning turn, Hannah recanted her confession. She claimed David had threatened her, that he forced her to help bury the body, and warned that if she spoke, she'd be next. Investigators dug deeper into David's past and found something chilling. 2 years earlier, he was questioned in another disappearance, a girlfriend who was never found. Now, detectives feared Rachel might not have been his only victim, and Hannah might be the only one left alive who knew the truth. As the trial loomed, prosecutors prepared to charge David Keller with first-degree murder. But the night before the hearing, he vanished. His phone off, his car abandoned, and in his apartment, a single note: "You're looking in the wrong place." Now, with David on the run and Hannah behind bars, detectives are racing to uncover what really happened that night. Because somewhere out there, someone still knows the truth. When David Keller disappeared the night before trial, investigators feared the worst. Had he run to avoid justice? Or was someone helping him stay hidden? Police launched a manhunt across 3 states. They checked airports, bus stations, abandoned buildings, but David was nowhere. Then, 3 days later, a break. A farmer outside Greenville, Kentucky, reported a burned-out car in his field. Inside, investigators found a charred license plate belonging to David Keller, but the body inside wasn't his. The victim was identified as Eli Turner, a low-level mechanic with a history of forging vehicle titles. Detectives soon discovered he'd been paid cash to register a car under David's name. The question was, by who? Was David trying to fake his death? Or was someone framing him? Again, as investigators searched for answers, they found fresh footprints near the scene. 2 distinct sets. One matched Eli Turner. The other was a woman's. And what detectives found next would change everything. Back in the city, an anonymous envelope arrived at the sheriff's office. Inside was a single photo, grainy, taken from a gas station camera. It showed David Keller, standing beside Hannah Morgan. The timestamp? 2 days after David's supposed disappearance. Hannah had been in county jail, or so everyone thought. Records showed she'd been transported to a courthouse that morning for a hearing, but never returned on time. Her attorney claimed there was a scheduling mix-up. Now, investigators weren't so sure. When detectives confronted Hannah, she broke down, trembling, shaking. She admitted David contacted her from a prepaid phone, begging to meet one last time. She said he wanted to make things right, to tell her the truth before disappearing forever. But when police checked the meeting location, an old motel off Highway 41, they found something far more disturbing. A hidden storage locker, rented under David's alias. Inside, a shovel, duct tape, and a torn piece of cloth stained with blood. DNA confirmed it. It belonged to Rachel Morgan. The discovery shattered what was left of the family's hope. It proved one thing. David Keller was deeply involved in Rachel's death, but it also raised a darker question. Was Hannah telling the truth, or still hiding her part? Investigators now believe the night Rachel died was an accident. Rachel had confronted David, not Hannah, about the stolen money, and Hannah arrived later to help clean up a murder she didn't commit. But then came another twist. An old neighbor stepped forward, claiming to have seen 2 people arguing in Rachel's driveway that night, and a third standing in the shadows. The witness described a tall woman with blonde hair, someone who didn't match either sister. That detail changed everything. Investigators searched David's old phone records and discovered dozens of calls to a name they didn't recognize. Claire Donovan, his former co-worker, and Rachel's accountant. When police questioned Claire, she denied involvement, but a warrant revealed hidden bank accounts shared with David. The missing inheritance? Transferred there piece by piece. Detectives now believe Claire and David orchestrated the entire scheme. Rachel found out, and they silenced her. Hannah's only crime was trying to protect her sister after it was too late. But before police could arrest Claire Donovan, she vanished too. Within a week, 2 key suspects had disappeared. A forged car, a burned body, a missing accountant, and one terrified woman, still behind bars. Detectives now believe David and Claire may be working together, plotting an escape or something even worse. Then one final piece of evidence surfaced, a voicemail left on the lead investigator's phone. You're still looking in the wrong place. Rachel's death wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. As authorities scramble to track them down, a chilling realization sets in. This case is far from over. In the months after the chilling voicemail, the manhunt for David Keller and Claire Donovan stretched across 3 states. Each lead ended the same way. Dead ends, false trails, and whispers of 2 ghosts who always seemed one step ahead. But then one small mistake changed everything. A financial analyst working with the FBI noticed a suspicious wire transfer. $10,000 withdrawn from one of Claire's offshore accounts. The location? A small fishing town on the outskirts of Savannah, Georgia. Within hours, U.S. Marshals were on the ground. They tracked the signal to a rundown motel near the docks. Room 12. When they entered, the room was empty, but inside a drawer, they found a prepaid phone, a map with several locations marked in red, and a passport photo of Hannah Morgan. She wasn't supposed to be part of their escape, so why was she on their list? Hannah Morgan was still behind bars, serving time for evidence tampering. When investigators showed her the photo, she froze. She admitted David had called her again, just days earlier. He begged her to meet him one last time, claiming he could prove she was innocent if she helped him disappear. Hannah faced an impossible choice: protect a man who destroyed her family, or risk everything to help police bring him down. She made her decision. With a wire hidden in her clothing, Hannah agreed to the meeting in a remote cabin David once used for hunting. Under the cover of night, agents surrounded the cabin. Inside, Hannah confronted her brother-in-law and the woman who had helped him vanish. David broke down, claiming Rachel's death was an accident, a fight gone wrong. He said Claire panicked, helped hide the body, and planted evidence to frame Hannah. But as the conversation unfolded, one horrifying truth emerged. Rachel hadn't died that night. She was alive for nearly 2 days after the argument, locked inside the basement while David and Claire decided what to do. They chose silence over mercy. When David admitted everything, agents stormed the cabin. A brief struggle followed. David tried to run. Claire reached for a gun. She never fired. Agents subdued them both. With their arrest, the truth finally came into focus. David and Claire had drained Rachel's inheritance, and when Rachel uncovered the fraud, they silenced her to keep the secret buried. But like all secrets, it found its way to the light. David Keller was convicted of second-degree murder, fraud, and obstruction of justice. He received life without parole. Claire Donovan faced 25 years for her role in the cover-up, and Hannah, her conviction was overturned. After 2 years behind bars, she finally walked free, a survivor of betrayal deeper than blood. But freedom didn't erase the pain. Rachel was gone. Her legacy, a family broken by greed, lies, and silence. In the end, justice came, but it arrived late, and at a cost no one could repay. Hannah visits Rachel's grave every year, flowers in hand, haunted by the choices that tore their family apart. She says forgiveness isn't easy, but truth was worth everything. Because sometimes the deepest wounds aren't carved by strangers, but by the hands of those we trust most. Ensure you hit like and subscribe buttons, click the notification bell to not miss out on any of our content. And we'll see you next time on the Crime Scene Stories.